Well, hello everybody. Danny back from Pecan Grove, out here in the screaming hot shop again today. I haven't had much time to work on the old Farmall, but it's late in the day now. Well, not late in the day. It's actually 2 o'clock in the day. I actually have an opportunity to come out here for a few minutes and thought I would bring y'all along. I have got all my parts have come in for the Farmall, for the rear end on it. And I actually have a few minutes. I wanted to show y'all what we actually discovered when we took this thing apart. It's been leaking grease, and the brake band on this side did not hold at all. So when I pulled, I got some help taking this side off. Mr. Chris helped me take this side off. And when I got into it, I realized why this side was leaking, which is a very common thing because people just don't pay attention when they're doing something. And I did find a bad bearing. That's something I've been having to wait on, is for a bearing to come in. So I'm going to try to get the camera up here and close, and I'm going to try to show you one of the first things that I found. And I think you'll see what I'm talking about. Now, I had to get Mr. Tim to do some, I'm going to call it professional welding, because to do what he did, you really have to be really, really good. And he did it, and I'm very thankful that he did it for me, because it was the reason that the brake shoe was not working and the old one was actually wore out. I'm going to try to explain both of these to you whenever I get you up here and kind of show you what's been going on here. Okay, here we are looking at the rear end, and I don't know, this is the side of the transmission off the back of the tractor here. You can see this is where the back wheel, where that planetary system right there bolts up onto this here. Now, I'm going to try to bring you in and let you look at this here. Let me see if I can get this where maybe you can see what I'm talking about here. You see this seal right here? This seal right here is bent really bad right in here, and it's pushed in, and it's letting rear end grease come out right here. This is the pinion shaft that actually runs the whole rear end of the tractor. This pinion shaft goes up and sticks in through right here like this and lines up in there like that. And that right there runs just like this here. Now, what happened is this pinion shaft goes through that top place right there where you see the end of that is. It sticks through there and it sticks out. And when you put the whole weight of all of this on there, most people do it by hand, and this shaft is sticking out like this, and they picking it up there, and they're trying to waller it around in here, and the weight of that's falling against it right here, and they bend it in while it's falling against it, and then they try to put it on up in there like that, and they put it together, and they go, oh, I got it. Well, no, you just caused it to leak by not actually paying attention and doing what you need to do. Now, that seal has got to come out of there. I've got new seals to replace it with. Now, here is where the problem came in at here. The rear end on this tractor had been broken once before and re-welded. When they welded it, they didn't weld this up right here. This was open back here. This actually was open. Now what this is where the pin that goes into the brake band goes into the rear end to hold the brake in place. Well, this was gone, and the brake band wasn't even in it. It was just kind of dropped down, laying in here. And this is the brake drum, and it was just running around that brake drum wearing it out, and when you mash the pedal down, it wasn't doing any good at all. So Mr. Tim actually done a little bit more welding right here for me, something other that they didn't do. And he actually done a little more welding right here, something they didn't do. And then we buffed the whole outer edge of this whole thing around here. We you can tell it's been buffed back down to where it's actually like it's supposed to be. Now, It's not been a problem. It's been holding without any trouble. But now what I found that caused not only this seal to leak, you see that seal right there? You see that spring inside it? Let me get it where I can get the light a little bit better deal. There we go. You see that spring inside there? That spring is what pushes that seal out against the shaft and holds it tight where it won't leak. Well, they also messed that seal up when they put it back together. So that seal was leaking also. And when you get both of those seals leaking, this is the brake shoe. This brake shoe was covered in rear end grease. Now, it's not that this brake shoe was wore out, because it actually still has a good bit of padding left on it. But what it did is it run against the brake drum, because that pin wasn't in that little tiny hole I was showing you. And it actually it just sitting there and ran against it and wore the drum out, because it was just running against the brake drum. It wasn't actually holding anything. So I'm going to try to clean this shoe up, and I'm going to keep this just for emergency purposes only, in case if I ever just had to have one. Now that I know how to fix it. You see this shaft right here and that bearing? This bearing right here is wore out. You see how that bearing moves? That bearing is also letting that shaft wobble in the transmission, which is also causing the seals to leak. So we're going to take a special set of pliers. We're going to reach right in here. It fits right in those two little tiny holes. We're going to take this keeper off. We're going to replace this bearing right here. Now this is the seal that we're going to be trying to take out. Now what I'm going to use, for those of you who don't know what this is an injector puller. So I'm going to take this injector puller and I'm going to try to reach up in there and I'm going to try to take that seal out with it. I've learned you can use these tools for a lot of things. So it's going to fit up in here just like this, because I have no other way to get in there. And if I can get this in there and try to get it to pull that old seal out. Look at that. There we go, right there. Just that simple. We took that old seal out. Wasn't no good anyway, so we got it took out. Now we're going to clean this up. Y'all know how I am about being clean. That thing's got to be clean for me. And I might want to add something here. It requires in this tractor, they require 80 W90 weights, what they're saying, or international trans fluid to go in it. Well, after talking to lots of people who own these Farmall tractors, not just a Cub, but Farmalls in general, I have come to the conclusion that using 190, I think they call it, it's 85 W140 weight, 85 weight, 40 weight, rear end grease, actually works better in these old tractors than it does using what they actually recommend, because the thicker and heavier oil, because all these old tractors has got some wear in them in different places. And they say that by using that, you actually end up with less wear and less leakage problems. Now, I got a brand new brake band, and here is that pin right here that I was talking about. Now this pin didn't come with it. That's the one that was in there. It just wasn't hooked up. I bought a whole set of outer axle seals. This is the bearing that we're going to be replacing right here. I bought a whole bunch of the pinion shaft seals, because I got more than one Cub tractor here, guys. I bought a bunch of the differential seals that goes in it. This is one thing I like about Birch Tractor Company. This is the outer shaft seal and the final drive. They label where every seal goes and tell you where it is. Now here's the bearing I'm going to be using right here. I've already oiled it and got it ready. I ordered a couple of, I think I have 4 sets of these now, of the differential gasket sets. I went ahead and ordered several of them, final drive gasket kits. Now we're going to be, we're going to take and hunt the right seals up, which I believe, let's see here, I believe it's going to be, it'll be the differential seal. It goes on each side of the housing right here. I believe that is actually it right there. Yes. Okay, now that we have this, I've got the right seal here. Now, what we want to do is we want to check it to make sure that it's a tight fit right there, and it is a good tight fit in the rear end. The other thing I like to do to make sure we've got the right seal is I like to take the shaft that it's going to be going over and I put it on here, and it is a really tight fit on the shaft right here. Before, this thing just wobbled around on that seal, so that's a good sign. Now, we're going to put this thing up here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and just lightly, now when you put it in, there is an inside and an outside to the seal. The flat metal part goes against the outside out here. The hollow part goes to the inside. There's a tiny spring behind that lip right in there, and that's what holds that rubber in tight on the shaft. Now we're going to take and see if we can get this thing kind of, these little seals, a big seal is a lot easier to, whoa, that's what I'm talking about. A big seal is a lot easier to put in than a small one is. All right, guys, I believe we're there. Let me take the shaft, line it up, and make sure about my distance right here. I could actually go in just a touch more. The other one was actually in just a little bit more. This is why I like to use a wooden block, is so you don't damage the seal. Looks like we have it in. You can see where the old seal was running on the shaft at right here, so I put my finger up here, I slide it in, and we're right at the exact same spot. Okay. Now that we have this seal in, guys, I have got to actually take a break just a minute, turn the fan on and cool off a little bit, because it is like screaming hot out here. Okay guys, I hope the fan's not making too much noise, but I've got to take, I have a pair of, these are special type of pliers here that has little points on the end of it. When I mash them, they spread apart like that. They come apart. Now I'm going to have to, and I know it's going to be very difficult to see this, but I've got to put this in the holes on this thing. Okay guys, what I've just done is I've took this snap ring right here. My pliers have two little tiny holes. I got pliers there. This thing goes around that shaft like that, and the pliers spread that apart where it'll snap down onto that shaft. Now what we have to do is we have to slide this bearing up off of that shaft, and we're going to clean all of this up right here. There we go. Got that all cleaned up. It's nice and snug on there. Alright. Okay guys, this is got kind of difficult. I'm trying to hold the camera and do this. I got it held between my knees here. This one's a little bit tighter than the other one, so we're going to lightly tap it. Yeah, now see, that other one just fell off of there. This one is a nice snug fit. I'm not hitting it hard enough to do any damage here, just lightly tapping it. Very lightly tapping it. See that little space underneath it down there? We got just a little bit, having it all the way down. Let's see if that... There we go. That got it. You see that little space? Let me get it where you can see it. There's a little ring space right around that right there. That's where this keeper right here slides and goes right up under that. I can tell by sitting in that groove it's not quite down far enough yet. That is pretty tight fit around that thing. There is no wobbling in this one at all. It is just as tight as it can be. The other one, remember, we could wobble it back and forth. This one's good and tight. Okay, we have our final drive assembly sitting up here. This is the seal right in here that we've got to take out. I'm going to try to do this from the back side. There we go. It knocked right out of there. This is it right here. We just took it out. Now we have a new one to replace it with. I'm going to clean that up first. You always want to clean up when you work on anything like this, because you see how nasty all that is coming out of there. This is the new seal here. Now the new seals are made a little different than the old seals were. This part here that's hollow, that's got the spring in it, is what was messed up on it. That goes to the side where the oil's at in here, like this right here. Now comes the challenge. I got to drive this in here. And before we do, let's take it. This is our shaft. I want to slide it over our shaft right here. Make sure, oh, it's a really good tight fit right here. Yeah. That is really, really tight down here. So that's what we want to make sure we're going to get a good oil seal. It's a good snug fit up in this right here. Now let's take our block of wood and let's see if we can get this to start in here without going crooked. Guys, wood is the best thing I found for driving seals. I know people say use a socket, but I found that wood does a fantastic job. Trying to make sure I got the same amount, a little bit up there. And I think we've got it. I'm going to take my flashlight and I'm going to look at it from the back side. We are good and tight all the way around the back side. That is exactly what we want. Now, what we've got to do is, before I actually put that up in there, it's always good to oil your seals just a little bit. Now I have my old-fashioned pump kind of oil can. I like to go in here and just pump a little bit of oil on the inside of this seal so that it's not dry when you put it together. There we go. We got a little bit of oil on it now. Now this is the pinion shaft right here. Alright, this pinion goes through here, like this right here, comes up through here. We want to be real careful now that we don't mess up our seal. And you'll have to rotate the big gear down bottom here to make all this line up like it needs to. Boy, is that tight. Man, that's tight. There we go. I like to see it tight like that. We're ready to come back here. Now what I have here is I went and bought a new tube of, this is ultra black oil and grease gasket material maker stuff, and I'm going to put that on this. Get the top off of it here. Now what I'm going to do is, this is the plate that actually is going to be going on it. I'm going to put it around on it. Not a real heavy coat, just a little thin coat. Just something to make sure that gasket adheres to this really well. Because once I put this on, this is going to be one of them places I'm not going to be able to get back to without pulling the wheel off the tractor. So I don't want to have to be going through that. We got it on that. I'm going to go ahead and put it on this right here. Get me a fairly little, a light coat. I don't want anything heavy. Get put around there. We've polished this surface up here and got rid of any old gasket material, anything like that off of it. This gasket has a flat side to it right here. It's not perfectly round, it has a flat side right here. This flat side goes down against the housing right here. There's a flat place on the housing right here. And we're going to stick this gasket in here like so. We're going to move it around. There we go. Then we're going to take this plate here. We're going to stick it on here. Now the plate doesn't, it doesn't have that flat spot on the plate, so try to get us a bolt in here to get this thing. Don't tighten none of the bolts down until you get them all in. There we go. Now these are 9/16 bolts, and these bolts have a small dot in the middle of them here. International made these bolts. They're called dot bolts. That's how you know when you're working on one of these Farmalls if you actually have the original bolts in it. Alright, we're going to tighten these down. We're going to snug each one of them down. Okay guys, we've got to install the brake drum on this. The bolt on it right here goes to the outside. There is a cotter key in it here. There's a cotter key in the shaft here, or this goes up on here. Okay. Had to get the light where I could see my key. There we go. There's a key right there. I can slide it up on there. I can see the key right here at the end of it. So the key stayed in at that time. I'm going to slide it back out to where the brake is right level with the edge. The brake drum's right level with the edge of that. I'm not going to push it up in there real tight. Or I'll tell you what I will do. Let me go get the brake band and let me stick the brake band up in there and see exactly how far it needs to go. Because there's a little bit of variance there. There's a 1/4 inch. And believe it or not, a 1/4 inch can make a lot of difference. Okay, we're all the way in that way. So the drum has got to go completely all the way in order for it to be in the right place. So remember that. The drum has got to go all the way in order for it to be in the right place. We got to tighten this down, tighten that drum down where it won't move. This actually tightens down against that cotter key. Okay guys, what I decided to do, I went to town and I bought two 7/16 bolts, and I cut the heads off of them, and I'm going to use these as guides to slide that thing up on here and get it in here so I don't damage my seal up in here. I kind of come up with this idea so that I don't damage anything in here, because that thing is quite heavy.
Buttons on. Both of them on.
Trying to get it where I don't let it rest on that seal, and I can turn this thing. Okay, I'm headed in there in the right direction, so, whew, guys, that's a heavy little apparatus to be putting in there and trying to line up everything. I think my stud idea was a wise thing to do. Yeah, that's kind of pretty close quarters right there. All right, guys, I've got the brake pin hooked up to the shaft coming out of the transmission part there. Now this is adjustable. You can screw this in or out, and how you adjust that is over here. You take your brake pedals and you push them both down evenly, and you want them to both stop at exactly the same point, so you can flip this lever down here. There's a lever that flips up so you can lock both brakes at one time. But to adjust them, you push them up and down, make sure they both bottom out at the same exact point. And by doing that, you turn it right here to make that adjustment. Alright, guys. It just come up a storm out of nowhere. The wind started blowing like crazy, and the rain was coming down sideways. Have you ever heard the old expression, it rained so hard it was like a stump floater? That's what we had, and I had to kind of like stop here for a minute. You couldn't even hear yourself think. It's still raining, but I don't believe it's too bad we can't hear. So I got to get through with this. Now this is the final drive pan that goes under the bottom of it. We've got the new gasket right here to go in it. I'm going to go ahead and take some of the gasket material to put on this, because this is very thin metal. And even though I took the ball peen hammer and a straight edge and tried to straighten it up as much as I could around these edges, if it's going to leak, this will be a place it'll leak at right here. So I'm going to take the oil gasket material again, and I'm going to see if I can't go ahead and cover this thing up so that we make sure we don't have any leaks on it anywhere. The main places is going to be up here in these corners up here. That's going to be your main places. So I'm going to put a little bit of extra amount right up in there. I'm going to go ahead and put it on the pan. And it's a pretty thick gasket. Now the old-fashioned ones were made out of cork. And this one seems like it's made out of some kind of other fiber material. Hopefully it's oil resistant. Now I'm also, once I put the gasket on, I'm also going to put the gasket material on this side of it too. Well, but this side will get a little bit thinner coat because it's going against a smooth, slick surface. And I'm going to try to just put a bolt in each end. Kind of hold it in place. And you don't want to tighten none of these down until you get them all in. Alright, now we can go around and start sticking our bolts in. Putting this tire back on. We've got the tire, I actually took the center out of it. We cleaned it down to the bare metal, repainted it, cleaned the rim down to the bare metal. We repainted the rim and got it all ready to go on here. The big issue is going to be now is I'm going to have to hook up the hoist system here. And I'm going to have to pick the tractor up and take the blocks out from under it. I'm going to have to let it down to where I can actually get the tire on there. That thing's about 6-8 inches too high right now. Let me see if we can't get this baby over here. See if I can't make this happen right here. See if this will work. Alright. Let's see what we're going to do here. I don't actually know where my other chain is, so I'm going to use this one right here. I'm going to actually hook this thing around the rock shaft right here, because it'll actually hold the tractor up. It's not a big deal. One thing I like about this chain hoist, okay, there we go. We can get the board out from under. Blocks out. I think one block will be enough to. We're going to start letting it back down. That's the beauty of a chain hoist. Look at that. There we go. Right there. That's why I like a chain hoist. You can take that thing and put something perfect. You ain't got to do all this heavy lifting. Guys, we are just about ready to get this baby where we can put some oil back in it. Now I do have a disclaimer to put in this. I want to add that to this video. If you go back and watch my other videos where I have one talking about putting the oils in the tractor, and I told you that the books said that the motor needed 3 quarts. When I put 3 quarts in, and it was barely touching the stick, and I ended up putting 5 quarts in it. Well, come to find out, I went out and checked my other Farmall, and my other Farmall, the dipstick was exactly the same as this one, but I looked and it stuck way further down on the tube than this one did. And I said, okay, there's something not right here. So I come in here and took the dipstick out of this one, went out there and put it in mine, and it wouldn't go down in mine like the other one did. So I got to looking, and up inside the dipstick there was a piece of metal up in there that was causing an obstruction, and once I fixed that, it slides all the way down on it now, and now I have to drain 2 quarts out of the motor because I got 2 quarts too much in it. So just wanted to add that to this one. The 3 quarts was actually right. And I don't know how long this piece of metal, I don't know if it's never been down on there like it's supposed to be and people's always ran too much oil in the motor. I don't know. Because you couldn't push it down on the tube. You could roll it around any way you wanted. It wasn't going on there, and that little piece of metal had got bent out in it. And it's still, I still don't want to go down on it really, really good, but now that I know it goes down on there further, I'll try to, I'll know to watch it from this point forward. So I wanted to put that in this video that 3 quarts, I couldn't see a manufacturer putting something out there and it not being, it not being accurate. Thank goodness I had another Farmall here to check it by and to find that obstruction, because I don't know, like I said, I don't know how long it's it's been that way. I didn't think to check the oil when I drained it out of it, you know, to see how much oil actually came out of it. So that's one other thing I got to do, and I don't have any way to go back to that video, and I don't think I do anyway, to go back to that video and fix it. Now, there may be something on YouTube that I can do to put a caption in it or something like that. I'll have to look and see, but for those of you who are watching this who's possibly saw the other video, I wanted to make it known now. And for you all, check your oil cap and make sure it slides all the way down. It should be within, it should slide down where the bottom of the cap is only 1.5 inches from the block. You know, mine was up like 3 inches from it. It needs to be 1.5 inches from the block to be on there like it's supposed to be. And anytime you put these, take a tire off like this and put it back on here, you want to make sure that after you run it for a little while, you go back and you recheck these, because my other Farmall, when I rebuilt it, they actually, even though I torqued them down pretty doggone hard, they three of them actually worked back loose, and I had to tighten them down. All right, well guys, the only thing left to do is we're going to put oil in it, and I'm going to use the 85W140 in that. On the back of it, back here up on the rear end, there's a plug right here. It's a 1/2 inch drive ratchet plug. You just unscrew it out and you fill it up to that level with oil in the rear end of it. And guys, that's all there is to it now. I'm happy to have this thing back together here. Hopefully, we can do a video here pretty soon of me backing this thing out of here and driving it off. Now I still have this side over here to go. I've got some oil leaks over here. I actually have the planter gear. I'm going to be installing that. Goes where that nut's at right here. I'm going to be installing that when I take this side off and redo it and get rid of all the oil leaks over here. I'm going to put that on there because I don't actually know just yet which one of these tractors I'm going to be using to plow the field with, or which one I'm going to have the sickle bar mower on. So that's where we're at today. Give you a look at that thing there now. That's what it looks like now that we've got it redone. I still got to paint the front wheels. I still got to redo the other wheel on the other side. I got to get some headlights for it. We still got a little ways to go, guys, before we're finished with our Farmall restoration. Thank you guys from Pecan Grove.